Hi folks, Canadian Prepper here. I wanted to talk a bit today about fat preppers. Now I don't mean that, I know what you're thinking. This is going to be some condescending attack on overweight, obese individuals. And you're wrong. So before you click dislike or get all butthurt, just hear me out. The reason why I say fat preppers is because that's what it is. It's fat. You know, it's not when you buy a box of chocolates or something that doesn't say on there lipid content or adipose tissue content. It says fat content. It is what it is. It's not always a negative. Now, I've touched on this issue before. That was back when I started, and that video now has been buried underneath a lot of other stuff. So I just wanted to reiterate some points about body fat. Now, body fat has some advantages and it has some obvious disadvantages. Body fat, the main advantage of body fat is that 1 pound of fat is approximately 3,700 calories, between 35 and 4,000 calories in its form, in its natural form. How much of that your body metabolizes depends on, your nutrient levels and stuff like that. So every pound of body fat over, say, 10% body fat. If a person's 10% body fat, they're pretty ripped. Bruce Lee in his peak was probably around 6 to 8. 10% body fat is ripped. Even with 12% body fat, you can still see your abs for the most part. Anything over that is sort of extra. And it's good. I mean, there's a reason why our bodies store fat. We store fat, like all animals store fat, to prepare for the winter. That's why we do it. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. Fat has kind of been demonized in our society as being a bad thing when, the storing of fat is a natural process that kind of needs to happen actually on some level. It does need to happen. So you can calculate how many surplus days you're going to have on this earth just by your body fat percentage. Now, of course, in order to metabolize that fat and convert it into non-essential proteins, you need nutrients. So you need your vitamin B and your vitamin C and vitamin A and D, things like that. So you're definitely going to need all the vitamin Bs, the whole spectrum of vitamin Bs, in order to properly metabolize and convert your fat tissue into energy. And fat is one of the most efficient ways of storing energy. That's why, 1 bottle of olive oil has thousands of calories in it, because it's the densest form of energy that the human body can process. We can't process uranium. We can't process metals and convert them into energy. We can only process oils, lipids. So it's good to have a little bit of fat on you. It is good to, every pound is going to buy you an extra day or two, depending on your activity level. Now, due to the stress of SHGF and all the rest, and the amount of labor you're probably going to be doing, you're probably going to be burning through a pound of fat a day if you're not eating anything. So really, if you had your essential proteins, and essential proteins are the ones that your body cannot produce, there's 8 of them, I believe. If you had those with your vitamins and your minerals, you could live off your fat in the same way that bears live off fat. Only bears have they don't necessarily need the proteins we do. They would break down muscle tissue. That's what would happen first, actually, is if you didn't have your essential proteins, your body could cannibalize itself and get the essential protein it needs from eating its own muscles. Because there is protein. That's one other benefit of having muscle also, is that, you use it for that purpose. So that's not all bad, but on the other hand, and I should also say that I know a lot of overweight people who are not only awesome people, but they're amazing shots. They have amazing drive when it comes down, like in tense situations. They can deal with crisis well. You know, being overweight and obese doesn't necessarily reflect a whole lot about your mental and emotional capabilities. What it does potentially puts you in a bad spot health-wise. And of course, it's better to be, like, I know a guy who's like the best shot I know, and he's overweight. He's obese. But this guy could, you know, shoot a bullseye at 800 yards. And he knows his shit, like, through and through, you know. Good luck getting within a decent range of this guy. But the thing is, why not be that and in good health? The whole idea of prepping is survival, is prolonging your survival. Protracted survival. Do you want to survive longer? If you do want to survive longer, for whatever reason, to protect your children, then your shit hit the fan is happening right now on some level. If you're like to the point where it's causing health problems like heart disease, diabetes, if it's getting that bad that you're getting cancer and stuff like that because of your poor lifestyle choices, then to prepare is to take care of your body. That is the odds of poor lifestyle choices killing you are very high. The actuarial likelihood is that it's going to kill you at some point, without a doubt. And that is proven. Shit hitting the fan is not proven. Now, I know people don't like to hear this because there's such a negative stigma attached to it. And it doesn't have to be like that. Okay, so people, not everybody's perfect. I know a lot of skinny people that I would pass up for some fat people who I know I can trust and who I know are, you know, smarter. And so I'm really trying to be fair-minded to that, because it's totally true. You know, just because you're overweight doesn't mean you're a bad person. Doesn't mean that you're a lazy person necessarily. We all get stuck in ruts. And once you get that momentum going, it's hard to get going. It's hard to start. Once you start seeing the pounds dropping off, and all there is to losing weight, there is no fucking gimmicks. I've been doing health and fitness stuff now for many, many years. And the only thing you need to do to lose weight is be taking in less calories than you're eating. Taking in less calories than you're burning. So if you're burning 3,000 calories a day, take in 25. You're going to burn 500 calories a day. You're going to burn, you know, about 1/4 pound of fat a day. But you need to have the discipline to do that. And once you start seeing the weight falling off, there's other things like what you eat and stuff like that, but by and large, calories in, calories out. It's like a car, you know. There's not a whole lot that you can do to make an SUV more efficient with the engine that's in it. Same way, you know, you could eat certain things at certain times a day and try these cleansing diets and fasting and stuff like that. Now, all those things have a function, but by and large, at the end of the day, it's calories in, calories out. If you want to lose weight, and if you're serious about survival, and this just isn't about obese people, this is about people who might smoke, people who might gamble, people who practice any, you know, as preppers, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but I feel that we're trying to aspire to a high quality of life. We're trying to secure a high quality of life, and we're trying to do that. It would make sense to me that we would try to eliminate that which would shorten that life that was in our control. shit hitting the fan is not in our control. What we put in our bodies is totally in our control. And if we can't control that, what makes us think that we're going to be able to control shit hits the fan? Now, I'm not saying that, don't get me wrong, lots of people who are overweight will just be, people aren't going to be running laps around these people like they think. I've seen people move. I've seen overweight people on the West Coast Trail humping it over boulders and like very difficult terrain. Some people will rise to the occasion, but health is another story. There are not going to be any doctors around in the apocalypse. So if you got health problems right now with the medical industry there to serve you, what are you going to do without it? The time is ripe right now to correct ourselves, because as much as we are supposed to store fat, our bodies are conditioned to do it. Our bodies are not conditioned to, they're not just conditioned to store fat. You're supposed to burn it off in the spring. You're supposed to burn it off in the famine. Unfortunately, the famine never comes anymore. The spring never comes. The time of drought never comes. It's constant abundance, to a point where we're gorging ourselves. Everything in moderation, nothing in excess. So, to fat preppers out there, and I may well be one someday, I'm not naive to that. Something might happen in my life. I could get depressed. I could give up, Some shit could happen. So I'm not saying this judgmentally, but I wanted to sort of set the record straight that there are benefits to being fat, but there are obvious drawbacks, and it's not helpful for someone to point a finger at them and say, you're a bad person. It's like I said, a lot of those people are some of the best people you'll ever meet. And I would just hope that they would have the self-discipline to round it out, finish the job, get her done. And if you do need any advice about losing weight, I'm not a personal trainer, but I can tell you that, and I don't want to boast about any credentials or anything like that, but I can tell you that fitness is integral to my lifestyle. It's my thing. So I don't need any certificates to talk about this kind of stuff. If you have any questions, whatever I can answer, I will answer. I'm not an expert, but I'm certainly not an idiot when it comes to that. So let me know what you think, and by all means, now is the time to take action in your life. Do it while the grid is up, because it's not going to be here forever. Thanks for watching. Canadian Prepper out.